Hello chemistry students, we're going to move on now and take a look at a different kind of stoichiometry problem. This is a MoleMass stoichiometry problem, and we're using the same equation that we used before, and I still have my coefficients here, so I know that my equation is balanced, but remember that that's always the first step whenever you're doing any kind of stoichiometry problem, is to ensure that you have a balanced equation so that you know the quantity of reactants that you need in order to create whatever quantity of products you want. So let's take a look at my MoleMass stoichiometry problem. Now, in the prior video, I gave you moles and you needed to find moles, but here I'm asking for how many grams of potassium phosphate. So how many grams of potassium phosphate can I make if I have 5 moles of potassium chloride and plenty of hydrogen phosphate? Well, just like before, the part that says plenty of hydrogen phosphate really doesn't apply to us here. It will apply in some future problems, but not here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cross it out. And so in white ink, I just wrote down what our plan of attack is going to be. So the first thing that I want to do is figure out how many moles of potassium phosphate equals 5 moles of KCl, or potassium chloride. And that's exactly what we did in our previous problem. So that's nothing new. The new part is number 2. We want to change the moles that we find to grams. But that's not a new calculation for you either, because you've already done that in previous assignments. So I want to zoom out a little bit so that we can still see our equation. Okay, so number 1 says that we need to find out how many moles of K3PO4. So how many moles? That indicates that that is our variable. So we have X mole of K3PO4, and we want to know how much of this we can make if we have 5 moles of potassium chloride. So I'm going to make that equal to 5 moles of potassium chloride. And so I just got these numbers in the variable directly from my problem. Now I need to make this equal to moles of K3PO4 on top. Remember that we don't switch where we've written our units. And I'm going to write moles of KCl on the bottom. There, on the bottom. Now, what numbers do I need to put here? Well, those numbers are my mole ratio, and you should remember that term from the previous problem. And we get the numbers from the mole ratio by looking at the coefficient for each compound that we have in our balanced equation. So our coefficient for K3PO4, if we look, our coefficient is 1 because I do not have a number in front of that compound. So I have 1 mole of K3PO4, and in front of KCl, I have the number 3. So I'm going to write my number 3 there. Now, in order to find moles of K3PO4, all I have to do is cross multiply and divide. So 3 times x is 3x, and that is equal to 5 times 1, which is 5. And to isolate x, I need to divide both sides by 3. My 3's cancel out, and x is 5 divided by 3, or 1.7 moles of K3PO4. Now I'm not going to circle that because that's not my answer. We just did step number 1 in my plan of attack here. Now what I have to do is take 1.7 moles of K3PO4 and I need to change it to grams. So let me change the color of my pen. All right, so I'm starting with 1.7 moles of K3PO4, and I want to know how much that weighs. How many grams is 1.7 moles of K3PO4? And in order to figure that out, I need to make that equal to moles of K3PO4. Notice that I just copied the units that I had on the left, and I just copied them onto the right. And then I'm going to take my grams, and I'm going to write grams on the bottom. What numbers do I put here? Well, I don't go back to my equation because those coefficients are not going to help me because I have G here. I need to figure out the mass. We know that 1 mole of any substance is equal to the molar mass of that substance. So we already know that. And so what I need to do is find out how much 1 mole of potassium phosphate weighs in grams. So to do that, I need to turn to my chem helper. So according to my chem helper, 1 mole of K3PO4 is equal to 3 times 39.10 because I have 3 potassiums. I'm going to add 1 phosphorus, which is 30.97, and I'm going to add 4 oxygens. So that's 4 times 16. And if you punch that into your calculator just like so, you will find that a mole of K3PO4 equals 212.17 grams. And that is exactly the number that I'm going to write next to my G, because this is what 1 mole weighs. And that is exactly what I'm saying here in my proportion. So I have 212.17 grams. Now, to figure out and to find my answer, because we're on number 2 of my plan, I need to cross multiply. So 1 times x is x, and that is equal to 1.7 times 212.17. And when I punch that into my calculator, I get an answer of 360.86 grams. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a box around there because that is my answer. So if we go back to our problem, the question was, how many grams of potassium phosphate can I make if I have 5 moles of potassium chloride? Here is my answer, 360.86 grams. All right, I hope that you guys took some good notes, and I hope also that you enjoy trying your skill at the next worksheet. Good luck, everyone, and I'll talk to you in class.